Chapter 297. Ending of the auction. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. A number of rare and valuable treasures, priceless to ordinary warriors, were exhibited next. Among them, a volume of the Half-Saint's Blood Book was sold for 700,000 spiritual crystals. Zhang Yuochen bought 3 war maps and a set of 9th level genuine martial arms armor. The Flying Fish Armor. The Flying Fish Armor could bear an all-out attack from a 5th level inferior savage beast, but it could only defuse 70% of the attack. With his current cultivation, if a 5th level inferior savage beast attacked him, even if wearing the Flying Fish Armor, his body would be shattered to pieces. Actually, what Zhang Yuochen liked most about the armor was its speed advantage. Wearing the Flying Fish Armor, a warrior could reach the speed of sound velocity whether they were on the ground, in the air or in water. It wasn't that amazing on the ground or in the air because most warriors who had reached the mid-stage of Heaven Realm could do this easily. But it was astonishing if you could reach this speed in water. Water's resistance often caused a warrior's speed to decrease by half. It could even be just a third or a quarter of his speed on the ground. As long as Zhang Yuochen was wearing the Flying Fish Armor, he could ignore the water resistance and exert movements more quickly than most warriors of the Heaven Realm. Zhang Yuochen only spent 90,000 spiritual crystal on the Flying Fish Armor. Other warriors had seen how he played Yan Yunhuan's arrogancy and treated him as a trustee of the Martial Market Bank. Hence, when Zhang Yuochen competed for the Flying Fish Armor, they raised the price carefully, offering him a bargain. The 3 war maps were called Cloud Painting, Flame Snake Painting, and Bee Painting. The Flame Snake Painting and the Bee Painting were aggressive, and the Cloud Painting was defensive. Zhang Yuochen spent just 100,000 spiritual crystal on 3 wonderful war maps. Huang Yanjun also bought 2 items, a 600 colored Ganoderma mushroom and a pair of 8th level genuine martial arms boots, which cost 30,000 and 28,000 spiritual crystals respectively. Of course, Zhang Yuochen paid the 58,000 spiritual crystals because he had said he would. Thanks to this mushroom, I'm sure I will be able to reach the completion of the Earth Realm before we go to the Underwater Dragon Palace. Huang Yanxun was confident. Her eyes shone, and she clasped her hands in front. That colorful Ganoderma, worth 30 million silver coins, was a rare treasure. Naturally, it would help her to break through 2 levels easily. The 8th level boots were called Silver Snow Glass Boots and they were another rare treasure. When wearing the boots, a warrior could use their genuine chi to launch and activate the inscription. Once they did this, their speed could reach the speed of sound. Moreover, even an ordinary person could wear the Silver Snow Glass Boots and be able to walk in the snow without leaving any tracks or cross a river and not drown. For warriors of the Heaven Realm, they were quite an amazing treasure. Zhang Yuochen and Huang Yanxun indulged in buying treasures and never worried about the price. Shang Kiki was a bit jealous. He also wanted to buy something, however, he couldn't afford even the cheapest treasure. His total assets were just 3,000 spiritual crystals. Junior fellow apprentice Zhang, it looks like you have made a fortune. Shang Kiki licked his lips. He lifted head and looked at Zhang Yuochen with an eager expression. Most people didn't know, but they had a special relationship. Zhang Yuochen understood. He smiled. Indeed, I made a fortune. Junior fellow apprentice Chang, elder brother, if you would like a treasure, just buy it. My treat. Shang Kiki was excited. He rubbed his hands and said, I'm so shy, I don't know if I can do it. But, since you are so generous, I can't refuse. I'll buy something. Shang Kiki and Sik Sing Kong made themselves at home and each bought 1 treasure. Shang Kiki bought a 4th level baby savage beast. It cost 48,000 spiritual crystals. It looked like a rabbit with 2 lumps on its head, which were likely budding horns. It was fat, twice as big as Blackie. According to Beig Zuling's introduction, the rabbit-like savage beast was a mutant of the elephant-swallowing rabbit. When it grew up, it would become as powerful as warriors of the Heaven Realm. What's more, since it was a mutant, it might be more powerful in its adult life than a regular elephant-swallowing rabbit. It had a 1 in 10 chance of growing into a 5th level savage beast. Of course, this rabbit also had a drawback: it ate a lot. It was young now, and it already ate a 1st level savage beast every day. If you wanted it to grow, you had to spend a lot of money buying food for it. For this reason, Many suzerain families were not willing to buy them. They were afraid to do business at a loss. Chankiki was fond of the rabbit and had paid a lot for it. Singkong purchased a pot of wine. It was said that the wine was brewed by Feng Suishing, Munda's third disciple, who had ranked first among the 9 emperors 800 years ago. It had been brewed almost 800 years ago and could be called an immortal brew. One pot cost 13,000 spiritual crystals. It was incredibly expensive. Feng Zuisheng was called the brewmaster, said Zhang Yuochen. His martial arts achievement was inferior to Munda's other disciples, but his winemaking ranked first. That's right, I would give my life to drink wine brewed by Feng Zuisheng. Junior fellow apprentice, you know about Feng Zuisheng, does that mean you also like drinking? Singkong asked Zhang Yuochen. Zhang Yuochen answered, how elegant Mundus was. He was a big shot, and everyone knew him. Even his 6 disciples were first-class warriors. It's common to know about Feng Zuisheng. The only thing that makes me curious is that 600 years ago, when Mundus fought with Empress Kaiyao in Tonglu Plain, how was he defeated? How did invincible Mundus die in the hands of a young generation? Zhang Yuochen had looked through many historical documents and studied some big events. However, those documents could not represent the true history. After all, they had been written by the historical officers of the First Central Empire, who were completely controlled by Kaiyao. Moreover, more history had disappeared because there were no documents at all. It was only mentioned in one sentence: Princess Kaiyao led the army and fought with Mundus at Tonglu Plain. Mundus fought with the Princess Kaiyao day and night, and several thousand kilometers of land turned to ruin. After 9 days, there was no night at all. After 9 days, Mundus died with blood scattered around the world. He became immortal with only a skeleton left. A few internal students sitting nearby heard him mention Empress Kaiyao. They were terrified, with eyes darting, lips trembling, and their eyes were filled with fear. They were even afraid to speak. They looked like mortals who could not discuss gods. In their eyes, Kaiyao was more sacred and dignified than the gods. She was magical and omnipotent. They couldn't even talk about her in private. They were afraid of being heard by her. Chankiki whispered, Junior fellow apprentice Zhang, you'd better stop questioning anything to do with Empress Kaiyao. It's banned here. Zhang Yuochen nodded and didn't say anything more. The auction was approaching its end. The other 3 space treasures had been presented on the auction stage one by one. The first one, a space bracelet, was bought by the Commandery Prince of Minshu for 540,000 spiritual crystals. The second space bracelet was purchased by a mysterious man for 730,000 spiritual crystals. The third was a space ring. Han Li, master of Yuntai suzerain, bought it for 610,000 spiritual crystals. The auction didn't end until after midnight. Zhang Yuochen and his friends had gained a lot. They went to the back of the auction stage expectantly to get their treasures. Only Yan Yunhuan was extremely depressed. He had planned to show off during the auction, but his plan backfired on him. He had spent nearly 2 million spiritual crystals on just 2 space treasures. What was worse, he had to give the more precious space ring to Chen Xia. In front of Chen Xia, he had to pretend to be joyful, yet he was wondering how he could get enough spiritual crystals. Even though he was the heir to the Yan family, it was impossible for him to spend 2 million spiritual crystals in one shot. Yan Yunhuan took out a piece of white jade and squeezed it tightly in his hand. His eyes revealed a very sad look. Is this the only way? The piece of jade was his amulet treasure. It could not only exert defensive force 5 times, it could also help him to burst out and reach a high speed, like warriors at the completion of Heaven Realm could, instantly. As long as he wasn't attacked by their warriors at the Fish Dragon Realm, no one could hurt him. It was because of this piece of jade that he was fearless at all times and looked down upon the warriors from Omen Ridge. Now, he had to take it off and give it as mortgage to the Martial Market Bank temporarily. If you could not afford to pay the spiritual crystals, you were deliberately provoking the Martial Market Bank. Afterwards, the Martial Market Bank would penalize you severely. Even if the Yan family was a half-saint family, it did not dare to play chicken with Martial Market Bank. Zhang Yuochen received the 4 war maps, the formation flag of the array of water, fire, wind and thunder, and a flying fish armor which was a 9th level genuine martial arms. 5 space treasures had been sold for a total of 3,767,000 spiritual crystals, minus 37,000 to pay for the auction fee. In total Jiang Yuochen had gained 3,730,000 spiritual crystals. After paying 612,000 spiritual crystals for all the things they bought in the auction, he had 3,118,000 spiritual crystals left. Aside from Huang Yanchen, no one knew that Jiang Yuochen had so much wealth. Shang Kiki hugged the baby elephant swallowing rabbit, his fingers touching its hairy head. His heavy heart finally came down to earth. He said excitedly, "Junior fellow apprentice Jiang, you are so rich. Tonight, you spent over 600,000 spiritual crystals. Even predecessors of the Heaven Realm were shocked by you. They struggled all their life, but still cannot save that much money. What do you do to make spiritual crystals? Can you let me in? I'll run errands for you." The others knew that Shang Kiki was joking and thought that Jiang Yuochen would just ignore it. But no one expected him to suddenly become serious. "Like you said, there is a way to earn money. I am ready to discuss it with you and my elder brother. If my plan works, we could gain millions of spiritual crystals.